The Brave Tin Soldier. Once, long ago, a skilled craftsman melted down an old spoon and made some tin soldiers from the metal. 24 were exactly alike, in smart red and blue uniforms. But the 25th was different. The tin had run out before his last leg could be made. In spite of his handicap, the tin soldier with one leg was just as smart and brave as the others. When the tin soldiers were sold to a little boy, they all took part in many exciting battles on the nursery floor, and the 25th tin soldier fought courageously. There were other toys in the nursery, of course. In the doorway of a large castle stood a pretty ballerina. She balanced gracefully on one pointed toe and held her other leg so straight and high behind her that it looked as though she only had one leg. This is how it looked to the tin soldier. "She only has one leg, just like me," he said to himself. "I would like to make her my wife." But he thought she was much too grand to be interested in a poor tin soldier, so he spent his days just staring at her pretty face. At night, when the house was quiet and everyone slept, the toys came to life. They played games and ran all around the nursery, chattering and laughing. But the ballerina did not move at all, and neither did the tin soldier. He just stood to attention and gazed lovingly at her. Suddenly, Jack-in-the-Box flew open and a nasty conjurer leapt out. "Stop staring at the ballerina like that," he shouted to the brave tin soldier. "If you don't, something nasty will happen to you, I promise." But the little tin soldier was entranced by the pretty ballerina and could not take his eye from her face. He did not even turn his head to reply to the conjuring in the Jack-in-the-Box. The very next morning, the tin soldier was standing on the window ledge by the open window when something, perhaps a gust of wind, perhaps the nasty conjurer, pushed him so that he fell and down into the street below, unnoticed by the little boy. He lay in the street until a young boy found him. The boy put the tin soldier into a paper boat that he had made, and the soldier sailed the boat along the rain-filled gutter. The toy soldier stood tall and erect as always. "He's the captain of the ship," cried the little boy. Suddenly the paper boat was swept down in a dark, dark drain. It bobbed from side to side in the current, travelling faster and faster, but still the brave tin soldier stood to attention, staring straight ahead. Though he was frightened, the others would have been proud of him. After a time, it started to grow light again, and the boat dropped with a plop in the river. A paper boat began to fill with water, and the brave tin soldier sank further and further under the water, until just the tip of his musket could be seen. Soon that too disappeared. The tin soldier sank further and further under the water of the river, till a large fish came swimming along and swallowed him. It was dark and gloomy inside the fish, but still the tin soldier stood tall and erect, his musket on his shoulder. For many days the brave tin soldier stood to attention in the depths of the great fish, and it swam up and down by the river. His thoughts were just one thing: the beautiful ballerina. He had almost given up hope of seeing her pretty face again. One day the fish began to struggle and shake violently, near knocking the tin soldier over. Then everything was still and quiet for a while. The great fish did not seem to be swimming anymore. The tin soldier wondered what was happening. He found out when suddenly daylight streamed in on him. The fish had been caught and was being cleaned, and the cook cleaned out the great fish, and the brave tin soldier tumbled out onto the kitchen table with a small clink. The cook picked up the tin soldier and took it up to the nursery to show the little boy who lived in the house. The little boy could hardly believe his eyes. It was the very tin soldier that he had lost weeks before. The brave tin soldier could hardly believe his eyes either. After all his adventures, he was back in the nursery. Everything was as it had been before. The toys were scattered around the table, and in the doorway of the castle stood a beautiful ballerina. The tin soldier stood and gazed at the ballerina, as she, as before, gazed back, but neither spoke a word. The other toys chattered excitedly, asking the tin soldier about his adventures, but he said not a word in reply. He only had eyes for the pretty dancer. The soldier devised a plan. That night in darkness he would go to the castle and ask the ballerina to run away with him. They would leave the nursery and start a new life together. Late that night the tin soldier started to climb the steps which led to the castle doorway. All went well until the spiteful conjurer sprang from his box and shouted at the soldier. "Keep away," he said. "I forbid you to take another step." The brave tin soldier continued to climb the steps, looking neither left nor right. But the conjurer could not be disobeyed. He leaned from the box and pushed the soldier so that he toppled down the castle steps and fell right off the table. Down and down the tin soldier tumbled. Not into the street this time, but somewhere far worse. He fell straight into the fire's leaping flames. "Now the beautiful ballerina will never be mine," he thought sadly, as the flames started to engulf him. Then a strange thing happened. A sudden draught of wind blew through the nursery across the table, and the ballerina was blown off the castle steps and into the fire. The ballerina and the brave tin soldier were together at last. The ballerina disappeared into a flurry of sparks, and the brave tin soldier had soon melted right away. The next morning the maid found all that remained of them: the brave tin soldier's tiny tin heart, and a charred flower from the ballerina's hair.